Every time I tried to love, I got betrayed. And every single time I tried to build, something fell apart. Every time I tried to trust someone, they took advantage of me. And every time I dug myself out of the hole, another one opened right the fuck up underneath me. But the day I sat down and actually started assessing my chart, I started to look at my North Node and everything actually began to click. My whole life made sense. Before we even get into this, I want you to do something for your future self. If you know that you've been in the middle of a spiritual shift, if you know something in your spirit has been waking up, and if you know that your life has been pushing you, stretching you, breaking you open, hit that subscribe button, turn your notifications on, and stay with me for this whole entire episode because what I'm about to say might be one of the things that finally help you understand that your entire damn life, and I mean that literally, because when I learned what my North Node actually meant, I finally understood why I went through everything that I went through. Hey y'all, hey, welcome back to Truth, Trust, and Trajectory with yours truly, Shakim B. This is not going to be a soft episode, and it is not a gentle message. Tonight, I'm pulling back the layer on my story. So this is going to be the real shit. This is not a polished healing version, and it's not a spiritual aesthetic, okay? I mean, the pain, the patterns, the scars, the cycles, the lessons, all of it. Because for so long, I felt like life was just hurting me for no particular reason. Like every time I tried to love, I got betrayed. And every single time I tried to build, something fell apart. Every time I tried to trust someone, they took advantage of me. And every time I dug myself out of the hole, another one opened right the fuck up underneath me. But the day I sat down and actually started assessing my chart, I started to look at my North Node and everything actually began to click. My whole life made sense. All right. So, for anyone that's new here, I talk about mental health, spirituality, astrology, numerology, all of that. Although most of my content is mostly centered around trauma informed coaching because that's what I am. I am very much a spiritual being, so I enjoy astrology, numerology, and just understanding the science behind who I am becoming, and who I am ultimately supposed to be. My North Node, for anyone that's new here, is actually in Pisces. And when I read that, I didn't know what it meant. I really sat there with tears in my eyes because it felt like someone literally printed out the blueprint of my entire soul once I started analyzing and assessing my actual chart. A Pisces North Node is the path of the healer. There's no ifs, ands, or buts about it. There's no going around it. That's just what it is. All right. So it's the intuitive, the spiritual guide, the woman who was chosen to transform generational trauma into generational freedom. That is literally a heavy, heavy, heavy weight to bear, right? And if you don't even know that's what your purpose is or that's what you're supposed to be down here doing, it's going to feel like you are literally in the boxing ring with God Himself. Okay? The woman who survives the hell that no one wants to talk about. So she can actually go back and pull other women out. That's me. All right. When I read that, it actually hurt because I finally understood why my life had to be so hard. And initially, it wasn't like, you know how when you find like a new piece of information and it feels like a new level has been unlocked for you? It didn't feel like that for me, right? Initially, I did feel a sense of relief because I finally had an understanding of what my purpose was and what I was actually supposed to be doing. But also, in the same token, it's like when you actually start to look back at all of the things that you have been through, right? Even though they were stepping stones to get you to the next part, the part that you needed to be at, right? Like the universe has this way of priming us in preparation for a greater plan, right? What we're actually supposed to be doing. It doesn't feel like liberating. It doesn't feel great. It literally feels like, damn, like, why? Why? Right? So my South Node is in Virgo and the identity that I was supposed to grow out of, right? So I want to tell you that what that means in real life. I grew up in chaos and I had to be the stable one. I grew up needing protection. So many times when I was a child, I needed protection, and to no avail, I didn't find that people were showing up to protect me. So I, as a child, had to learn how to protect myself. I grew up needing love, and I had to survive without it, right? Now, my definition of love might differ from someone else's version of love. But for me, growing up, I did not feel loved. And that ultimately is what matters, right? I do also realize that, you know, parents, they can only love, protect, and do all the things to the extent that they're able to. So I just had to make that out there just so no one gets offended, right? Because this is ultimately my story. It's about me. So it has nothing else to do with anybody else, right? I grew up needing softness and I had to become hard just to stay alive. And I became the girl who overanalyzed literally everything. The girl who stayed 10 steps ahead because danger was always too close. And the girl who had to be perfect so that no one would abandon her. I had to become the girl who carried guilt that was not mine. I took on a lot of things that never were mine to begin with, right? But that became my story over time, as well as the hero. So the girl that tried to save people, right? But I never learned how to show up and save myself. That was the whole entire message of my self node, right? And it gets deeper than that. So it has to do with survival, control, fear, hypervigilance, and pain. I didn't consciously choose that life, but my soul knew that I would survive it. When I learned that when I learned my self node, it hit me like a damn punch in the chest because it told me exactly who I came here to become. Some of those things are a healer, a guide, a woman who trusted her intuition more than her trauma. So I had to begin to start discerning the difference between the two, right? I didn't, at one point in my life, I didn't know, if the anxiety was my intuition or if it was a repeat cycle from trauma. I had to become a woman who speaks her truth so that other women feel safe speaking theirs. I remember, quick story time interjection. uh, I remember years ago, and I'm trying to remember because I feel like it's very important. I want to say it was maybe like in 2010, right? And that was probably like the first winter noticeably for me that I realized that I would get like seasonal depression. And this is, I don't want to drag this episode out or go too far off topic, right? But the seasonal depression for me, it started between 2009 and maybe like 2012, somewhere around there. And I would notice every year, like clockwork, around this time, something in me felt like it was broken. Like I couldn't quite put my finger on it, but it felt broken. It felt incomplete, like like I had been played or betrayed and I couldn't figure out what it was, right? And it was this cycle, this pattern around really just resenting and hating the family that I was in, right? Or that I had come from. Because I felt like I was just completely abandoned and alone. And so I remember, whenever the first winter of that was, I had started just kind of like divulging online. So I started slowly telling my truth. And one of the things that I realized was that when you start speaking very loudly about your trauma and you start speaking your truth, it starts making other people very uncomfortable. And the kickback to that was I fell out with my mother. I would, kind of not really have that support, which I felt like I didn't really have to the level or the extent that it should have been present and I should have had it, right? But, I would start telling my truth and just speaking my feelings, and then somebody would see it and get really triggered and turned off. And, for me, it was just a very confusing time because I was carrying all of this anger and this pain and this hurt and this trauma, and I didn't know what to do with it. I didn't know how to make it better, right? And I also know that I didn't cause it. And so I think that I was very confused as to why other people were getting triggered by me speaking my truth, from things that, I had went through because someone else made a decision in their life, to include me into the most debaucherous things, and I do mean by choosing partners, that abused me as a child. So all of those things, kind of like led me up to this particular moment. I just kind of wanted to go back. I started getting a little bit emotional, so I'm going to pull back from that story because I don't want to finish it. Um, I also had to learn how to become a woman that builds legacy from the very wounds that were supposed to destroy her. I guess message, right? Um, it told me that I didn't come here to stay in survival mode. And I've always felt like that for a long time, right? That poverty was not my end goal, right? I'm supposed to come down here and be able to overcome poverty because that is literally something that plagues so many people, right? And it has nothing to do with being able to buy nice things, right? But just being able to make an influence and then being rewarded by the Most High because you're doing these things. You are raising the vibration, the frequency of the planet, and in return, you're getting a reward from it, right? And so I came here to remember who the hell I am spiritually. And I realized something really crazy in all of this. Every time I ignored my intuition, I ended up getting hurt. Every time that I dimmed my gifts, I ultimately ended up suffering because of it. And every time I tried to be logical instead of spiritual, I ended up in situations that broke me. My purpose has always been spiritual. I was literally just too wounded to see that. So why is it that life had to break me? And I think that there are there are some people down here, right, that look at life like it's just very difficult. It almost feels like tribulation after trial after tribulation after trial, right? It feels like there's so much time in between the good. We're always waiting for the dopamine hits in life, right? The things that make us feel good. And while we're waiting, it seems like we're in a perpetual state of suffering, right? Because things aren't going our way. So I used to ask God, why me? Why so much pain? Like, what did I do to deserve this? Why is it that I did not get the love that I deserved? Or maybe I'm just not worthy of it, right? Why did I have to fight for every single thing? I used to get so resentful and angry when I see people that just naturally have it, right? Like it's in them, not on them. People just naturally gravitate towards them and they could just be doing the most low vibrational shit ever. And people are like, yay! You know, they're like wasting food and abusing people and just, doing like just the most low vibrational things. And they get so much clout, right? And then you have like people that are actually doing good with good intentions and good heart, and they actually want to help in life. And it's like there's so much struggle and suffering. So I just wanted to know, like, why literally do I have to fight for everything? Why couldn't I just have a normal life? My perceptive of a normal life is just things not being so fucking hard. Why must there be so much resistance? But then I came to the realization that there is a deeper truth behind that, right? My pain wasn't just pain, it was preparation. My intuition was literally undergoing a period of training. And my trauma was the initiation, right? Abraham Hicks says that you cannot get there from there. So if you are in a habitual state of suffering, then you cannot expect to go from suffering to not suffering just because you think it. You have to embody that, right? My story was the curriculum God was writing long before I understood the language. And my North Node showed me that everything I went through was not for my destruction. It was essentially for my evolution. It was for my mission. It was for the community of women who would need the exact version of me these experiences created, right? And sometimes I think that that goes over so many people's head. Just a few days ago, I was talking to someone, right? And we were having this conversation, and he was talking about, just kind of like where he was at in life right now. And I told him, because I don't know why I have this knack, but I can see the solution for other people's lives so clearly, but then when it comes down to my own, it's almost like rocket science, like I'm putting together this very intricate puzzle. I don't know why that is. I'm assuming it's because it's maybe just a gift, right? But I was telling them, I said, your path right now, what you're going through, is going to help other people, right? So you're meant to be talking about that and basically working through that while showing and teaching other people. And one of the things that I know is because that's not the first person that I've had that conversation with. People really do hate the idea of having to be the sacrificial lamb, right? Essentially having to go through the pain so that someone else doesn't. And it always behooves me. It's so surprising, right? And I don't know if it's just because that's literally been my life outcome, right? It's been kind of like the path that I've been on. So once I realized it, it's just normal to me, right? I go through certain things so someone else in the world doesn't have to. Everything that I share is from experience, right? And it's like, if I could at least just help one person in this life, I would be happy. But on the flip side, there are people that have a really hard time with that ideology because they don't want to experience any sort of pain, no sort of inconvenience, right? Not even for other people. But again, I blame it on my Pisces trait because unfortunately, like I have a very Christ like mindset. That's so bad, but it's good, right? So my past was the fire, but my purpose is the gold that came from it. That is transmutation. Transmutation. So who am I now? The North Node version of me. I'm finally stepping into the version of me I was always meant to be. The woman who trusts her spirit, the woman who creates from her soul, and the woman who knows her story is the medicine. I'm also becoming the woman who helps other women break free from the survival identities that trauma glued them to. Every single video that I post, every podcast that I record, every single product that I make, every woman or male that I have coached, it is all in alignment. All of it is me answering the assignment that God has placed on my soul. So this is what I want you guys to take away from my story. And it wasn't very long. It's just a promised mini episode in the North Node, just to kind of get you guys warmed up if you're new to astrology, right? I'm telling you guys this because I want you to understand that you are not broken. You're not cursed. You're not behind. Your life is not a mistake. You are literally being shaped. You are being carved. You are being positioned, and you are being prepared, just like I was. All right. If this episode hit you in your chest, if you felt God talking to you through me, and if your spirit was like, this is my sign, trust me, it is. I want you to hear me and hear me well. Make sure you guys click the subscribe button, hit the notification bell so you never miss another episode. Drop purpose in the comments and share this episode with one woman who needs to know that her pain is not punishment, it is preparation. This community, this space, this podcast, it is not entertainment. I don't do this for clout. I don't do this for a pat on the back. I'm not looking for scruples or cookies, right? If you look at my following, for a year, I have literally just a little over 100 followers, and a lot of my videos don't get that many views unless you guys want to show me some love and start, engaging and subscribing, right? I do this for the mere purpose of transformation. Almost a year ago, I was called to an assignment and I answered it. If you're ready to walk into your destiny, you're exactly where it is that you need to be. Make sure that you guys click the link in my bio, or you can go over to my website. Let me put it up, shakimb.com, and subscribe to my email list, download your freebie on my website. Also, I have interactive healing workbooks. I also have a Patreon community. It's called the Rebirth Community. I created it for women just like us so that we can heal in safety and not survival. I'm also working on another course. All right, it's a survival detox course. You can only have access to it if you subscribe to my email list. So make sure you guys go over there and do that. Also, make sure you leave me a review in the comments. Let me know what part of this video most resonated for you. And if you have any questions, I would love to hear them. Drop them in the comments. Until next time, bye bye.